Well, hello everyone, and today we are talking about RRSP and TFSA. That's where we're focusing on today. We're actually dealing on where should we put our money today. And Glen, I just want to welcome you here with me. So glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Glad to be here.
Yes, and I know our listeners want to know who you are. So of course I have to do my usual introduce you. So Glen, actually, he is a financial advisor as well as an infinite banking practitioner, and he offers financial advice. And I must add that they're really unbiased, and he also offers services that are customized to your specific need. And we have been discussing quite a bit of topics around finances and dream building. But today, what I want to do, I want to pick Glen's brain a bit. I want to ask him a few questions, get some expertise advice from him as it relates to RSP. Usually this time of the year, there's so much buzz around RSP. People want to know whether or not they should use it, what's the difference between RSP and TFSA. But because this is such a big topic, I think, Glen, what we should do, we should probably divide it up, right? So we could probably discuss some today and then leave some for another topic, right? So if you haven't subscribed already, just remember to hit that subscribe button so that you will be notified of the new upload when we start our next question and answer with Glen. So Glen, my first question for you today is, what is RSP?
RRSP, sometimes referred to as RSP, but it's Registered Retirement Savings Plan. What is that? That's a government came up with a program that allows you to help yourself. And what I mean by that is there's a whole bunch of people being born. There's a whole lot of responsibility that will be on the government when these people reach retirement. So the government thought, let's give you an incentive to take care of some money take care of some things for yourself, right? So they came up with the RSP or RRSP, referred to either way. So that basically is what that is.
Okay. And I'm sure, like everything else, I mean, it may not be for everyone, but I'd like to know, what are some of the benefits of RSP?
You know what? I'm glad you said that. It is a tool, and people got to remember that. Some people look at it as the only tool, but really it is a tool. Okay, so you make it benefit you for whatever job and outcome you're looking for, right? So what are some of the benefits? Well, the biggest benefit in the initial stages is for every dollar you put in, it reduces your income, quote unquote, for the year by that much and allows you to pay less taxes. So people are in love with that. They're like, if I dump enough money in my RSP, I'm gonna get a tax refund. And very few people will re-add that back in. They may do some other things like put money in tax-free savings. Depending on how much they put in, they might pay for annual insurance premiums or vacation or house refresher. Pardon me, the throat's a little dry today. So that's what excites a lot of people. You put money in dollar for dollar reduction. So let me give you an example. Let's say you make $50,000 a year, okay? You put $5,000 in your RSP. Your income now for taxation purposes will be $45,000. Now, why this works is because if all things being equal, let's say you paid enough taxes to cover your $50,000 income. Because you've now put $5,000 in RSP, it reduces your taxable income. So you would have overpaid the government, right? And then you would get a tax refund based on that, right? So let's say that's about a 30% refund. You would likely be getting somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1,500 for that, right? So that's a little reward to help take care of yourself for later.
Right. Okay. That's pretty good. So, I mean, at least some persons, I'm sure, could make use of that benefit, right? So how much can people take out, Glen, of their RSP?
You know, the RSP, let me preface this. If you have $500,000 in your RSP and you want to take it all out at once, you can do that. However, every dollar that comes out, remember you get the deduction for deposit? Well, now it becomes income when it comes out. So ideally, you want to touch it when you're not working. I've had clients use it during maternity leave while they've been laid off, or as it was intended during retirement. When you don't have an income, because really it's treated as income, so it's to replace the income you would normally have.
Okay. Okay.
So there's no cap on taking out, but I'll give you an example of the thresholds. If you take out up to 4,999 in one shot, there's a 10% withholding tax. So whatever institution has those funds, they hold on to that and forward it to the government on your behalf. Then that 4,999 gets added to your income. So if you're that $50,000 income earner, your taxable income is now 54,999 for that year, and you likely would have underpaid your taxes, but you don't just owe, 1,500 necessarily. You may owe a little bit more.
Okay.
The good thing is because that 10% has already been forwarded, you would owe the difference.
Okay.
Now, if you take out 5,000 to 14,999, they withhold 20%. And if you take out over 15,000, they withhold 30%. So picture if you have $100,000 and you go to cash it out, you're walking away with 70,000 net to start. Now that's painful, but for those people who've had bonuses in that area, they understand that that's actually not so bad as a taxation on a bonus typically, right?
Right.
Because it is income. So what they're doing is they're saying, we're going to take some of this just in case, not just in case, we're going to take some of this to make sure this is already forwarded to the government. So you don't have to come up with as much for the difference as if we let you take it all, right? So it's a tool. It is the fun times are there. When you put the money in, you get the refund, but when you take it out, there's taxation due, right? As they say, no free lunch on this. So again, you got to figure out, and hopefully with the help of your advisor, does this make sense for me to even begin with? And if I do have one, when does it make sense for me to do withdrawals?
Okay, makes sense. And I know a lot of people have been making use of the first-time home buyers plan that the government has as well. And they have to repay that, but do we really have to repay back our RRSP? I mean, I know a lot of people want to know that and they have that question. And how do you do that?
I like to say it depends, but let me get into that. Okay, so let's use easy numbers, okay? Let's say, well, here's the thing, I'll start with, you can borrow up to $35,000 from your RSP if you qualify for home buyers plan, right? And if you do qualify for that, then you can borrow up to 35, but let's use easy numbers. Let's say 30,000 or 15, let's say 30,000. So you borrow 30 from your RSP. So here's a few things you have to make sure. First off, you don't just go cash it out, because if you do that, you're going to get 21,000 and not 30. There's a specific piece of paperwork that is filled out, sent into whatever institution's holding it. And as long as you answer the questions correctly to show you qualify, then they will let you have the entire amount as a loan, right? So let's say I'm going to buy my house this year, okay? And I take $30,000 as a loan from my RSP. I get it, there's no taxation right away. Now, by the end of next year, after I've been in my home now, the loan repayment is due in 15 installments. So I technically should be paying back $2,000 a year into my RSP for 15, for that 30,000 to be repaid. Now, does it have to go in the exact specific one? It doesn't. Let's say maybe you're doing matches through work, you're doing your own thing, deposit in RSP. If you put 5,000 in for that year, then what would happen is at the end of the year, CRA gets all the slips of your deposits. So they would credit 2,000 back to that loan, and then you would get a credit and a deduction for the additional $3,000 off that year's income.
Okay.
Okay. You do have the option, like other loans, to pay it out. You'd have to contact CRA to say, hey, the money I'm going to deposit this year, you can use it to wipe out the rest of the loan, as opposed to letting me take 15 years, but they give you up to 15 years because they realize now you're in a new home, new mortgage. So
Right.
they're not going to demand it all back right away or within a 5-year period, right? So again, it's a tool. It can be used. I've had several clients use this. I've had some who think, no, not doing it, not touching it. But I let them know that it's available and they make the choice that makes sense for them.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, it comes back again
Now,
to
I'm
having
sorry.
that conversation.
One more piece, Genese, one more piece. Sorry about that.
Yes.
If you don't put any money in any RSPs whatsoever, then your income gets added up by that $2,000 that would have been due and you get taxed on it. So if it's again 50,000 income, now you've technically made 52,000 in income, and you would owe taxes on that additional too. So that's what happens if you don't put anything back in any RSP for that year.
Okay. Okay. All right. And yes, sorry. So as I was saying, that it comes back to having that conversation with a financial advisor instead of just making these decisions haphazardly. You want to make sure that everything is structured properly. So you just want to make sure that you have that conversation then, right? And
Yeah, you're right.
yeah. So you did touch on a few reasons why people cash out on their RSP. Did you want to add anything else to that? Or you did mention maternity
So
leave, and you mentioned, when people are not working, they'd cash out, and if income is low. Are there other reasons that you find some of your clients will cash out?
ideally, those are the times you want to take it out when you do not have a regular income. The
Okay.
reality is stuff happens, right? So being properly structured from the beginning really makes a big difference, okay? So as I said, RSPs are a tool. Should everybody use them? No, I don't believe so. It depends on your circumstances, what you're trying to accomplish. So I'll give you an example. I've got a friend who's a client here, and he decides he wants to buy a house, but he's had a bunch of stuff happen, family members that are close that depend on him financially, and he was putting every dollar into that RSP because he wants to build up the home buyers plan.
Mhm.
Now, I suggested he redo that. In the short term, use some of the TFSA. We talk about insurance, but we'll chat about that in the next couple of weeks. Put some in the TFSA. In fact, put the majority to start within the TFSA. And then if the end of the year, say next January rolls around, because he's on a 2-year plan, if next January rolls around and he hasn't needed to withdraw that money for these things, then put some into the RSP. Because if it's in the TFSA and he needs it, then he can take it out without penalty. You already had something go bad if you need to make that withdrawal. Why
Right.
compound it with added taxation and not getting as much as you want to withdraw because some's going to be withheld, right? So it really requires proper planning when you're setting these up. Yeah, you can just throw money in thinking I'm getting a refund, but all it takes is one withdrawal, and it's generally for something that went wrong, for you to compound a bad thing. You start paying extra taxes. You never, we won't talk about the room. You never get that room back once you withdraw it. So there's a cascading event of things that aren't good when you having to take money out that you didn't plan on taking out,
Okay.
right? So proper structure, if you'd had money in another pocket that you could access without taxation, then that's likely, and in most cases, going to be a better way to get at it.
Yes. And Glenn,
Right.
this topic, there's so much to discuss in this topic, right? Because I just want to remind people, if you're just joining, we're actually discussing where should you put your money? Should you use RSP? Should you use TFSC? Should you use insurance, right? And we're going to break this up because it's so much to discuss. And I'm sure today we won't even cover half of what people are concerned about. So I want to invite you, leave your comments below as we prepare for the next few weeks on the topics. If there is something that we did not address and there's something that you'd like us to cover, put your questions in the comments below. We're going to check our comments. We're going to check for questions, and we want to cover all your concerns. And Glenn wants to know, what would you like to know? And he wants to tell you because he loves talking about insurance, TFSA, RSP, and many more. Like, he has such a wealth of knowledge. We don't want to leave that hanging. So let's make use of that. Put your questions in the comments below. All right. And we want to keep this one short today. This is just the introduction. All right. So we're giving you a taste, leaving you ask for more. So Glenn, what else did you want to add as we keep everyone asking for more?
I'll tell you this. I've dealt with people from 18 years old right up till late. I had a 94-year-old client. She passed recently, but people in their 70s asking RSP questions that they had no idea about. And some of them feel embarrassed. And I tell them, don't. This is why I'm here. I'm here to help you, because I'm going to be very blunt and tell you guys, for myself in my 20s, what I did through work, I used to get deductions off my check, load up my RSP, and then at the end of every year, cash it out and go on vacation because it was forced savings. Guess what? I had to pay taxes every year and I couldn't figure out why. Not until I got into this industry and I was trained and learned did the light bulb go on, because I heard RSPs are a good thing. You save in them, you get a tax deduction, which I did. But what wasn't talked about much is when you do the withdrawal, then you're going to have a penalty. Now, the reality is it's not RSP's fault. It's my fault. I was using the wrong tool. I knew I wanted to cash it out each year. Now, mind you, back then, a tax-free saving wasn't available, but there was other methods, you know, just a regular savings account, or if I wanted a little bit of investment, I could have done non-registered. There was other methods available as there is today. There's even more today, but I didn't know. So I had 3 years of taxation unnecessarily that I didn't have to have, right? Okay. So when I tell you guys, don't feel embarrassed if you don't know. There's no dumb questions. Ask your questions, because guess what? When you are armed with proper knowledge, you make better decisions for yourself and your family.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So, I mean, that's all we're covering on RSP today. And the next video, we will talk about TFSA, and then we'll go on to insurance, right? So, and then after we kind of mix it up a little bit for everyone, right? So thanks so much for joining, and we will see you in the next video.
Yes, thank you guys. And again, remember, this is a little bit of a series. We're going to just break down each topic. We started with the RSP today. We're going to talk about tax-free savings, as Genese said. We're going to talk about how to use insurance, cash value insurance specifically. And most importantly, what situations they work in. They're all tools and can be used very effectively if it makes sense for your situation. So don't worry about what your neighbor does. Tune in, we'll chat more, and then we can go from there. Right, so again, as Genese said, don't forget to subscribe, right? And click the notification as well, so you know when another video comes up. And we look forward to you continuing with us as we continue our discussion. So take care.
Okay, bye for now.